Oh, somebody really famous died today. President Pervez Musharraf, ex-army chief and ex-president of Pakistan. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a backdrop just so you understand who he was, what his legacy would be. So he was, by the way, he died in Dubai after a long illness, mystery illness, which was a very rare illness, but which was never made public. I'm sure they might make it public now. He was 79, and he had been living in Dubai since 2008. He stayed in Pakistan briefly, but ever since then he's been living. When he was ousted from his position as president of Pakistan, he moved to Dubai, and in 2016 or 17 he was diagnosed with some sort of a mystery illness. So what his legacy is and why is he important, or why was he important at one point? He was obviously a key US ally in this war on terror. And he was accused of being an American puppet, which he probably was, but America did not install him there, contrary to popular belief, because America gets a lot of stick for supporting these dictators, so to speak. But this is not a dictator like Stalin, where people would be worried about. I actually, when I left Pakistan in 2003, I was actually there at that time, and we were really happy. He floated this idea of enlightened moderation, and because at that time Pakistan was fighting this war on terror, so Musharraf decided that it's time for us to take away from Islam, or just call this enlightened moderation. But like everything else, whatever dictators enforce on you, it never lasts long. And obviously Pakistan went back into. And oh, by the way, as
exactly.
Yeah, so when he tried to impose this, people actually reacted even more, and Pakistan faced one of the worst waves of terrorism back in 2004 and 5. That's the time when roughly 70,000 Pakistanis died because these Taliban, TTP, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, formed at that time because their main grievance was that Musharraf is the stooge of United States. United States is the enemy of Islam and killing us Muslims. Therefore, Pakistan is a fair game as well, and 70,000 people died. But let me take you a little bit back. Pakistan, Hillary Clinton correctly said that if you want to know the real example of a deep state, then that is Pakistan is a picture-perfect example of that. And this is not a conspiracy theory. In Pakistan, the real power lies in the hands of the military establishment. Everyone knows that. Even military establishment, they come out and they just say that, okay, from now on, we're going to be neutral. We're not going to interfere in Pakistani politics. But we all know it's a proto-democracy. The prime ministers and the MNAs and the MPAs, they are actually given a green light by the military establishment of Pakistan. So in the first Afghan war that took place between 1979 to 1989, in 1979, Pakistan Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was ousted by then military General Ziaul Haq. Now, at around the same time, Afghan Jihad happened, Iranian Revolution happened, and America all of a sudden found itself in need of some Pakistani help. So United States sent in dollars, weapons, etc., and then they started this Afghan Jihad against the Soviet invaders. So everything was fine. Pakistan got militarized. That's the time when Pakistan got more Islamized as well. But in 1988, General Ziaul Haq died in a plane crash. A lot of people say that United States CIA was behind that, but it's a conspiracy theory. We don't know for sure. Then Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's daughter, Benazir Bhutto, she came to power, and she stayed in power until 1991, until she was ousted by the president. Back in those days, Pakistan had this constitutional amendment where the president could kick out a prime minister, but everyone knows that was done at the behest of the then military general. Can't remember his name. I think it was called General Kakar. I think that was his name. So anyway, and then came Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif became the prime minister for Pakistan in 1991, and then he was also ousted in 1994. Benazir Bhutto came again. 1993, 91 to 93, and then Benazir Bhutto came to power again, 93 to 95, and then, 90. First one was 91 to 94, then 94 to 97, and then Nawaz Sharif came again in power 97, and then he was ousted this time by previously the military general or the military establishments were forcing the president to kick them out, and then let's start new elections. So the whole of 90s was wasted in that case, and that's why Pakistan was called a proto-democracy at that time. There was no democracy. It was just no one. There has never been in the 75-year history of Pakistan, not one prime minister has ever served his full term, and even at that point, it was the political life of any prime minister was even shorter back then. General Musharraf, his predecessor was kicked out by Nawaz Sharif, who was the prime minister at the time. There was a big tussle going on. Nawaz Sharif was the then prime minister of Pakistan was trying to regain control. He was saying that, okay, the military establishment should be underneath the civilian leadership, etc. But it didn't happen. One of the General Jahangir Karamat was kicked out. He was fine. And then Nawaz Sharif put General Musharraf there. General Musharraf was a maverick. He was a hero. He wanted to be a hero, whatever. So he invaded India in 1999 called Kargil. You guys might know as the Kargil War. Now, that was Pakistan's version of Little Green Men who entered the Kargil, the mountains of Kargil. I think they're called Tiger Hills. But anyway, this is the Indian Kashmir, held Kashmir. Pakistan said, well, sorry, we don't know. These guys are not our guys. Pakistan military denied owning them. And they said, well, these guys are mujahideens. These guys are freedom fighters. Indian army came hard at them. Indian army just started, destroying their positions in the mountains, etc. And Indians say that when then Musharraf realized his mistake, and then he went to Nawaz Sharif, who had no idea at that point. It was not this attack was not approved by the civilian leadership of Pakistan. So he went to Nawaz Sharif and he said, "Oh, please go to the United States of America and give us face saving. Let us somehow help us get out of there." So Bill Clinton, he called in with then Prime Minister Vajpayee of India at that time, and they said, "Okay, well, you know what? Let's just cease fire and let's just end this." So it was a major disaster. A lot of Pakistanis died. There were Pakistani soldiers, but Pakistan did not initially recognize them. But then, stupidly enough, they actually gave them medals, people who survived. So that's the character of General Musharraf. He attacked India on his own without any approval from the civilian leadership. Now, Musharraf was sore. He was bitter. So what he did, he actually overthrew Nawaz Sharif's government, and then he became the president. That's the time he became the president of Pakistan. Nawaz Sharif was put in jail, and then he was kicked to Saudi Arabia, and Musharraf enjoyed power, absolute power. Luckily for by the way, at that time, President Bill Clinton was scheduled to tour India and Pakistan, but then in the meantime, this thing happened. So President Bill Clinton only went to India, and he did not want to come to Pakistan because I think he stopped for like an hour or something. But he said, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with this military dictator. You've overthrown democracy, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, Pakistan got banned, shunned away by the West. But then, luckily for Musharraf, September 11, 2001 happened. And Pakistan all of a sudden became this leading country in this war on terror. And Musharraf formed this friendship relationship, whatever, with then President George W. Bush. And a lot of dollars started pouring into Pakistan. And all of a sudden, everything was good. Pakistan's economy started going up. We started seeing Pakistan getting modernized, etc. And that's the time in 2003 when I left Pakistan and I came to Australia. Geez, I'm so old. Anyway,
can you do it? Can you do the history lesson faster so we can get to it?
Yeah, almost done. I'm up to 2003. So anyway, so then this terrorism thing started happening. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the Pakistani version of Taliban, they formed. They hated Musharraf. He survived 3 assassination attempts, etc., etc. And then he was forced to hold true elections. So true elections were held in 2008. Unfortunately, 5 months earlier, Benazir Bhutto, she was assassinated by the Taliban. So as a result, her party won the general elections in 2008. Zardari came to power and he kicked out Musharraf, and Musharraf went to, he self-exiled himself to Dubai, and that's where he had been living there. He formed a political party there for a little bit, but then nothing really came out of it because he was just a dead horse by that point. One more legacy part of it is, even though he did attack India back in 1999 in Kargil, sorry, 98 in Kargil. And then he became an ardent supporter of India-Pakistan peace, Aman ki Asha. Pakistan and India should be friends. And he infamously walked in Agra. He took photos in front of the Taj Mahal and all of that kind of crap. But Indians actually did accept him again. So up until that point, Indians, I would always say that Indians were far better than Pakistan in that regard. When Pakistan invaded Kargil in 1999, India's then Prime Minister Vajpayee was actually in Pakistan sitting with Nawaz Sharif, and they were saying that, okay, we need to open up our bilateral ties. And then he realized, whoops, what happened? And then he realized that Pakistan had invaded. And even now with Musharraf in 2004 and 2003 and 4 and 5, they tried to bring the two countries closer, but then it didn't work out. So he left at that point, 2008, and now today we found out that he is dead at 79. I think that should be that. Yeah, you be the judge what kind of guy he was. But he was a military dictator. But when we think about dictators, we think about Idi Amin, we think about Hitler's or Stalin's or those kind of people. So he wasn't like that. I remember nobody was afraid. So there are some good things. I got to tell you, there's some good things as well. He opened up Pakistan's media. In 1999, Pakistan had one state-run TV channel, and we had never heard of opposition. We had never heard of these two opposing politicians speaking against each other. There was no private TV. There was no entertainment, no nothing. Musharraf, first thing he did, he came in and he liberalized and he privatized media. He gave so many licenses. So by the time he went away in 2008, Pakistan had nearly 100 plus TV channels. And even when he was in power, there would be politicians from all sides would be actually criticizing Musharraf on national TV, on these private TVs. So that was totally unheard of. We had never seen anything like that. So I think that's probably one thing that would always go in his favor.
Get my best-selling book, Why There Is No God, for free. Click on the link for it in the description.